What do you mean? I was told there would be someone who speaks multiple languages at this meeting, so I made time in my busy schedule for this. What? Multiple languages? I hadn't heard anything about that. Was there some mistake? This was a crucial business meeting for the company's future. And Mr. Irving was presenting in English. Then one of the attendees started speaking in Chinese. We certainly hadn't anticipated Chinese. Was that a lie? You'd do anything to set up this meeting, wouldn't you? This is a matter of trust. There's been a misunderstanding. Like Mr. Irving, I was also panicking. I had to say something. I stood up and raised my voice. Please wait. I'll answer. As expected, all eyes in the room turned to me. There was no turning back now. This was the start of the biggest moment of my life. My name is Jason. I'm 23 years old and currently job hunting. The company I joined as a new graduate prioritized profit over employee well-being, and I had to quit because it ruined my health. Raised in a single-parent household, I couldn't afford to go to college and started working right after high school. I worked hard to repay my mother, who raised me alone, but I had no choice but to leave my job. It's tough to find openings for high school graduates. I wouldn't care about the job if I were alone, but I have someone I want to support. I had another interview today, but when I talked about my academic background and my previous health issues, they gave me a skeptical look. Opening my planner full of interview appointments, I sighed. I have to find a job soon. Making life easier for my mother seemed like a distant dream. I got off at the downtown station and noticed someone crouching against a building wall. Was the person feeling unwell? People glanced over but didn't stop to help. When someone's in trouble, we should help each other. Be a kind person who offers a hand. My mother always told me. Without hesitation, I knelt beside the person. Are you feeling unwell? Should I call an ambulance? She held a handkerchief to her mouth, sweat streaming down her temples. Rudely, I was startled. The woman, slightly older than me, was incredibly beautiful. She was wearing a suit, so she was probably at work. While I stared, she looked at me with narrowed eyes. Yes, I'm fine, just a little dizzy. You don't look fine. Let's sit on that bench. Can you move? I helped her to a bench in the station square. I bought a bottle of water from a nearby vending machine and handed it to her. Are you sure you don't need an ambulance? Yes. This happens often, so I'll be fine after a little rest. This happens often. You shouldn't be outside working like this. What? Please take better care of yourself. I immediately regretted saying that in such a rush. Take care of yourself was something I often told my mother. She worked tirelessly for my sake, neglecting her own health. I want to make sure you have plenty to eat, she used to say, even as she frequently became immobilized from overwork and anemia. Even if we could afford to eat well every day, I wouldn't be happy if my mother, the most important person to me, wasn't healthy. That's why I couldn't stand people who pushed themselves too hard. Well, I guess I can't really talk since I wrecked my own health at my last job. I never expected to be lectured. The woman, looking much better, laughed. I'm sorry for being rude. Rude? You were worried about me, right? Thank you. And for helping me, too. No, I'm just glad you're feeling better. At that moment, my recruitment bag, which I had placed carelessly at the foot of the bench, tipped over. The items inside slid out because I hadn't closed it properly after taking out my wallet. Documents scattered at the woman's feet, and she started picking them up with her delicate hands. Oh, I'm sorry for making you pick those up. It's fine, oh. She seemed to notice something on the documents and turned to me. Are you job hunting? Yes. Well, more like I'm looking for a new job. Really? You look so young, I thought you were a college student. That would be my age. But I only have a high school diploma. My previous company was exploitative. I found myself telling my life story to a complete stranger. Realizing I was talking to someone who had been feeling unwell, I stopped. Oh, I'm sorry. You don't need to hear this, just forget it. Hey. The woman, now much recovered, stood up and grabbed my shoulder. Then she said something completely unexpected. Why don't you come work for my company? What? A few days later, I was standing in front of an office building in a prime location. Nervously, I entered through the automatic doors and called from the designated floor. Hello, this is Irving. Good morning, it's Jason. I've just arrived. Thanks for calling. I'll come get you. Before long, the woman from the other day appeared from behind the reception desk. Her name is Ashley Irving. She is the president of the hotel management company that I am now standing in front of. After helping her at the station, she somehow scouted me and showed me her business card, which left me stunned. The Irving Group is famous for managing hotels. Originally running business hotels, they now cater to various needs, including domestic and international tourists. Why would they want someone like me? It seemed too good to be true. I suspected it might be a scam, but seeing Ms. Irving's face coming out of the main office made me believe, whether I wanted to or not. Hiring someone like me, without significant qualifications and who had to leave a company due to health issues. I'm just grateful to Ms. Irving. I'll work hard for this company. Now, I have not only my mother but also Ms. Irving is someone I owe a great deal to. I vowed to myself that no matter what happens, I won't give up. Yes. Even if the other employees don't think highly of me. A high school graduate hired mid-career? With just high school knowledge, won't it be tough here? Whispers and indirect comments about me being out of place became a daily occurrence. The Irving Group is full of people from prestigious universities. They probably can't believe there's a high school graduate in the same office. In fact, there are no new graduate positions for high school graduates. I only got in because I had work experience and was hired mid-career. But those who enter this company mid-career are usually looking to advance their careers. There wasn't anyone else in my situation. To the other employees, my presence, without impressive academic background or a clear path for career advancement, must have been unwelcome. It's no wonder they think, why someone like him? Jason, were you really too poor to go to college? Well, yes. You should have used scholarships or something. I wanted to start working as soon as possible. That much? Your parents must be terrible to make you go through that. I felt a surge of anger when they talked about my mother, but I was mature enough not to raise my voice. They didn't know anything about my mother, so they could only say that. Don't let it bother you. I told myself that. Even though I faced daily ridicule, this company didn't overwork its employees beyond regulations or deny them time off, unlike my previous job. I was quite fortunate. I couldn't afford to give up just because I couldn't get the understanding of those around me. Still, hiring a high school graduate when the company's value is high, what's Ms. Irving thinking? Well, she's just a temporary president. Perplexed by my senior colleague's disdain, I tilted my head. What do you mean by temporary? Haven't you heard? Until half a year ago, her father was the president. But when he suddenly fell ill, Ms. Irving had to step in as the second president. I see. She's still learning how to run the company and isn't fully fledged as a professional. Who knows when she'll be ousted? That's why she's considered temporary. The seniors laughed heartily among themselves. Ms. Irving hadn't yet built enough trust among the employees to avoid such remarks. It's no surprise. It was an emergency situation. I remembered the first time I met Ms. Irving. Despite clearly feeling unwell, she insisted she was fine. Perhaps her current circumstances and the pressure were making her feel ill. If it were me, I would have been crushed much earlier. I wished for her to find peace, but it didn't seem likely. I wondered if there was anything I could do to help. But, well, it's only a matter of time before she's replaced as president. Another senior who had been listening to our conversation joined in. After all, there's a true candidate for president. The true candidate? Look, it's that manager over there, Daniel. My senior discreetly pointed to a male employee who was chatting amicably with his subordinates. He appeared to be in his early 40s, youthful yet authoritative. Before the previous president stepped down, everyone assumed Daniel would be the next president. His father runs a company too. And he's been groomed for this role since he was young. He's capable and highly trusted. So everyone thought he was a shoo-in for the next president. Daniel can turn any mistake into an opportunity. But because it was so sudden, the president passed the role to his trusted daughter. Or so everyone says. We don't know for sure what the previous president intended, but it seems everyone was convinced that Daniel was the next in line. With their expectations dashed, it's no wonder there's resentment towards Ms. Irving. The fact that they were peers probably adds to it. Ms. Irving, criticized based on unfounded assumptions. I wondered how she felt doing her job. Jason, how's the company? After a month of working there. Ms. Irving called me in. She was likely concerned about me since she had scouted me herself. I've grasped the work content. I'm still getting support from everyone, but no major issues. In reality, I had problems with the human relations, but I kept quiet to avoid causing her unnecessary worry. I didn't want to add to her stress. That's good to hear. Since we also deal with international clients, I was worried about the English aspect. I've been studying English, so it's not much of an issue at the moment. That's good to know. I struggled with English myself, so I was concerned. My mother always encouraged me to study languages. She said it would be essential in the future. Your mother sounds like a remarkable woman. Yes, but I'm having a hard time with business English and specialized terms. Everyone struggles with that at first. It's just a matter of getting used to it, so hang in there. You're one of our employees, after all. Yes. Ms. Irving smiled warmly. You're really uplifting, Jason. Really? Yes. Oh, by the way, I don't think I ever told you why I scouted you. No, you mentioned my personality and enthusiasm, but... Well, what if I said it was because you're my type? What? Her unexpected comment made my voice crack. I've never been popular in my life. No woman had ever shown interest in me before. But I'm an adult. I understood she wasn't serious, right? Well, I have a meeting now, so I'll see you later. Leaving me in a daze, Ms. Irving exited the office. My heart was pounding from her sudden remark. Was she just messing with me? Still, it didn't feel bad. Once I mastered the specialized English, my work started progressing smoothly. I created documents in English and managed to negotiate with international clients successfully. I began to enjoy my work, and despite it being an unfamiliar field, I quickly grew passionate about the industry. Even the senior employees who initially mocked me for being a high school graduate began to recognize my efforts. You're actually pretty capable. Even though I still occasionally heard whispers about being just a high school graduate, it had become much easier to work here compared to when I first joined. Jason, well done. That client is known for being impatient, but thanks to your smooth handling, things are progressing well. I was at a loss for how to respond to the praise from Kevin, the department manager. I had never been praised at my previous job, or it was expected that I could do anything. Should I be happy about it, or should I humbly say, I'm still learning? In situations like this, you should be happy. I heard Ms. Irving's voice and felt a hand on my shoulder. She had suddenly appeared next to me. She was just encouraging her subordinate, but the unexpected touch made me feel my face heat up. Did she not realize how attractive she was? Ms. Irving. You looked like you were scolded when you were being praised, so I was surprised. Oh, I'm sorry. You need to stop apologizing so quickly. You didn't do anything wrong. Yes, thank you. I bowed to both Kevin and Ms. Irving. Kevin scratched his cheek, looking between me and Ms. Irving. Honestly, when you first joined, I wasn't sure what to expect, but I guess I was worrying for nothing. Seems I have a good eye for people, don't I? Indeed, you do. Kevin, who had been with the company longer than Ms. Irving, laughed. He used to be her superior, but now their roles were reversed. He had once told me that it was awkward, but she seemed to be getting used to it. As I watched the two of them, I felt a sharp gaze on me. I turned to see Daniel looking our way. I remembered that Daniel was once considered the next president. I wondered what he thought about it. Was he uninterested, or did he truly want to be president? Well, it wasn't something I should be concerned with. The current president had already been decided. Ms. Irving's efforts were now being recognized by everyone. The position wouldn't change now. I had never spoken directly with Daniel since we were in different departments. So, when he called me one day, I was quite surprised. And it was about an important matter. Jason, I'd like you to help me with a project. Me? I couldn't imagine being able to assist someone from a different department, especially after just a few months. But I wanted to do what I could for Ms. Irving, who had brought me in. I know about you. You were hired through Ms. Irving's connection, right? Despite being called a high school graduate, you've been working hard and producing results. I see you as a strong employee who can perform well under pressure. I'd like you to support the upcoming business negotiation. I was taken aback. I didn't know Daniel had been paying attention to my work. I had occasionally felt like he was glaring at me, but maybe that was just my imagination. Of course, I'd be happy to help in any way I can. Please guide me. I bowed deeply, and Daniel smiled warmly. You're very earnest. All right, let's do this together. He handed me some documents. I was tasked with summarizing the materials for distribution as pamphlets, photographing the presentation, and taking minutes in English during the meeting. I started reviewing the documents to prepare the pamphlets. The clients, the projected costs for the project, the personnel involved, and the countries. The sheer number of details and the scale of this project were unlike anything I'd worked on before. Preparing for this made me incredibly nervous. Besides Daniel and me, Ms. Irving was also attending the meeting. While Daniel would primarily handle the negotiations, Ms. Irving needed to be there as the company's face. The importance of this meeting only heightened my anxiety. However, it was a great opportunity to contribute directly to Ms. Irving's work. I meticulously revised the pamphlets, repeatedly seeking feedback from other employees until they were perfect. The day of the meeting arrived. As I waited in front of the client's office, Ms. Irving arrived, followed shortly by Daniel. However, Daniel looked terribly unwell. His face was pale, his brow furrowed, and he seemed unsteady on his feet. Daniel, are you all right? Daniel, what's wrong? Actually, I've been feeling dizzy and chilly since this morning. I don't have a fever, though. That's serious. You should have called. It's my negotiation, so I couldn't miss it. I can't let you take the lead in this condition. I'll handle the negotiation. You should rest. I'm sorry. Daniel handed over his notes to Ms. Irving. These are my notes. I'm sorry for the trouble. It's no trouble at all. We help each other in times of need. Thank you. Jason, I'm counting on your support. Yes. Seeing Daniel's dedication reminded me of my mother. For his sake, I resolved to give it my all. Daniel waited in a nearby cafe. Ideally, he should have gone home, but he insisted on staying nearby, too worried about the meeting to rest. We have to do our best to put Daniel's mind at ease. The presentation would be in English, but Ms. Irving had won speech contests in school and was quite skilled. She could handle it almost as well as a presentation in Japanese. I was ready to take minutes as Ms. Irving began the negotiation. As the meeting started, Ms. Irving presented clearly and fluently in English. Partway through, someone raised their hand. It was a question. Ms. Irving signaled for them to proceed. But then... What? We were stunned. The question was in Chinese. It's not uncommon for participants to be from different countries. That's why we conducted the meeting in English, the global lingua franca. Why had they suddenly switched to Chinese? Despite her confusion, Ms. Irving asked politely in English if they could repeat the question. The questioner responded with a clearly displeased expression. Excuse me. Ms. Irving? What's going on? The client's representative pressed her. I was told there would be someone who speaks multiple languages at this meeting, so I made time in my busy schedule for this. What? Multiple languages. We hadn't heard anything about that. Daniel hadn't mentioned anything about multiple languages. Was this a mistake? Ms. Irving's reaction only made the client frown even more. Was that a lie? No, we never said. Would you do anything to set up this meeting? This is a matter of trust. There's been a misunderstanding. Like Ms. Irving, I was also panicking. I had to say something. But should a new employee like me step in? Would it cause more problems if I did? After all, I'm just a high school graduate with limited knowledge of the industry. Don't worry, you're one of our employees. Ms. Irving's words echoed in my mind. Yes. I am an employee. My job is to support this negotiation. Please wait. I'm the one responsible. I'll answer your questions. I stood up and raised my voice to stop the questioning of Ms. Irving. As expected, all eyes turned to me. Regarding your question earlier, I responded to the person who had asked in Chinese, using Chinese. The questioner blinked in surprise at first but then nodded as I explained. Then someone else raised their hand. This time, it was in French. I switched to French to answer. However, I struggled with the technical terms. But there was no turning back, so I used gestures and tried my best to explain. After answering that question, the initial client representative leaned in towards me. So, you can do it after all. Well, I apologize, I was planning to handle the Q&A session myself at the end. No worries, sorry for interrupting. Please continue. Thank you. Ms. Irving, I'll take it from here. Yes. I felt bad for leaving Ms. Irving astonished, but there was no time to explain, and I was desperate. I continued the presentation in English, then received a question in German. I guessed the meaning of unfamiliar terms from the context and answered. Switching back to English, I was then asked a question in Indonesian. Then back to English again. My head was spinning. Still, I somehow managed to finish the presentation and bowed. Applause erupted around the room. You are amazing. Honestly, I didn't expect much, but you really can handle multiple languages. Mr. Harris, the client's president, offered his hand for a handshake. As I shook his hand, he asked one final question. Unrelated to business, but how many languages can you speak? I can hold a conversation in 8 languages. Wow. Do you enjoy studying languages? Yes. My mother is a national interpreter. She used to read me picture books from various countries. So every language holds precious memories for me. I wanted to be like my mother, skilled in languages, so I studied hard. I see. With someone as reliable as you, we definitely want to do business with your company. Thank you very much. About an hour later, I left the office building, my legs feeling weak. Hey, Jason, are you okay? I'm sorry, I just lost all my energy. After the meeting, while the presidents discussed the contract, I was bombarded with questions. Numerous employees seemed to be testing my language skills for fun. They were delighted to hear their native languages spoken fluently and took turns asking questions in various languages. Failing here would mean losing the trust we had worked so hard to build. I felt like I was walking on a tightrope, just hoping the contract talks would end soon. Finally, I was free, which brought me to this exhausted state. Although there were no major failures, and I even managed to gain the employees' favor, I was utterly drained. As I headed towards the cafe where Daniel was likely waiting, he appeared in front of me. Daniel, are you feeling okay? Well, more importantly, judging by your state, the negotiation didn't go well, did it? Seeing me so exhausted, Daniel seemed to misunderstand and shrugged his shoulders with disappointment. Jason, despite trusting you to support me, this is the result. Very disappointing. Actually, I thought you were someone Ms. Irving recognized, but it seems I was wrong. As Daniel continued to speak without giving us a chance to explain, both Ms. Irving and I were left behind. He went on. Failing such a significant negotiation, it's also Ms. Irving's fault. Wait, what's going on, Daniel? I'm just stating the facts. This is a matter of your responsibility as you hired him. I'll have to bring this up in the internal meeting. Wait, no. Having the ability to judge people is crucial for a president. Be prepared for your credibility to be questioned. Despite his harsh words, Daniel seemed somewhat pleased. Why was he being so strict? Did you lie about the multiple language skills, Daniel? Ms. Irving looked suspiciously at Daniel. He remained unperturbed. Oh, that? Yes, I might have mentioned it. Securing an appointment with that company is tough, so if it takes a little lie to get it, it's worth it. They didn't believe it either, did they? What? Because of Daniel's lie, we ended up in a tight spot. It's unthinkable to secure an appointment through such means. Did you do this to undermine us? And then pretended to be sick to avoid the negotiation? What? After all, you were the one who insisted on the multiple language condition. Why didn't you tell us? Was this to set a trap for us? No. Yes, that's right. It was an unbelievable accusation, but Daniel admitted it easily. I wanted to test if you could handle such a crisis. A president who can't isn't fit for the role. What are you talking about? This could have caused massive damage. Ms. Irving was right. Our company's reputation was at stake. We narrowly avoided a catastrophe. However, Daniel seemed unfazed, even amused. One company doesn't matter much if I'm president. Besides, it's partly your fault for not handling it better. You should have been more flexible. You seem confused. We never said the negotiation failed. What? Daniel's mouth dropped open. We secured a preliminary contract. That means neither Jason nor I are to blame. The only one in trouble is you. What are you talking about? That's impossible. If you don't believe me, you can check for yourself. Either way, your actions today will be reported in the meeting, so be prepared. Let's go. Ms. Irving pulled my arm. Ignoring Daniel, who was standing still, I left the scene. The next day, it was confirmed that the negotiation went well, and we secured a significant contract. At the same time, Daniel's actions were brought up for discussion. Further investigation revealed that Daniel had been sabotaging his colleagues' work and then taking credit for fixing the issues. Despite being competent from the start, he had resorted to undermining others to gain more recognition. He believed without a doubt that he was the rightful successor to the presidency. When Ms. Irving was appointed, he sought revenge through underhanded means. Once his misdeeds were exposed, Daniel was dismissed. Even in his final moments, he tried to resist, but Ms. Irving firmly addressed him. Now I understand why my father chose me over you. He always said you were capable but couldn't value people. He thought you weren't ready to be president. The previous president had seen through Daniel's character. While I could understand Daniel's frustration at not being recognized for his contributions, achieving success by trampling on others is meaningless. I hoped he would reflect on his mistakes and start anew. After all, I am also someone who changed jobs. After everything settled down, I was summoned to the president's office again. Ms. Irving bowed her head to me. Jason, thank you so much for what you did. We wouldn't be here if you hadn't handled that situation. Please, lift your head. I was just doing my job. Besides, I should be the one thanking you. I'm always grateful to you for taking me in back then. I've always wanted to repay you. You've done more than enough. Your hard-earned language skills and the knowledge you've gained here are the best repayment. You've grown so much in such a short time, and your effort is truly commendable. As you know, I'm a high school graduate, and my family wasn't wealthy. I've learned painfully that life isn't fair. But I've also realized that with enough effort, you can enrich your life. So, I've just been working hard for myself. You're very admirable. So different from me. Ms. Irving gave a sad smile. What are you talking about? You've been working so hard to uplift this company even though you were suddenly appointed president. No. I'm not worthy of such praise. I've used my power for personal gain. What do you mean by that? I brought you into the company for my own personal reasons. That makes me unfit to be president. Now that she mentioned it, she had never clearly explained why she scouted me. For personal reasons. You were kind to me. That's all. I don't quite follow. When we first met, I had been making mistakes since morning, and everyone was criticizing me. Saying I was just here because of my father's connections. I was at my breaking point, thinking I had no allies in the world. But then you, not knowing my situation, were kind to me. I thought, this person could be my ally. So, when I heard you were job hunting, I brought you in forcefully. I just used you. I'm sorry. Ms. Irving held a handkerchief to her eyes. I didn't know how to deal with a crying woman and felt helpless. Used me. I don't see it that way. You gave me confidence. Thanks to you, I had the courage to use the language skills that had never been useful before. I realized my efforts weren't in vain. And, should I say it now? Would it be selfish? Reluctantly, I have courage now. Helping someone I admire as a woman, there's nothing more rewarding than that. What? Oh. I know it's presumptuous of me to say, but no, not at all. Ms. Irving grabs my hand abruptly. I could feel her higher body temperature. At first, I was just using you, but I've come to admire your kindness and hard work, Jason. This seemed too good to be true, but it wasn't just luck. We had been honest and diligent, leading to this result. After this, we visited Ashley's father, the former president, in the hospital. We reported the success of the negotiation and the internal issues to Ashley's father, who had stepped down as president and taken on the role of chairman. And we also told him about our relationship. Someone good for Ashley. I'm relieved. She was only interested in work, and I was worried as her father. Don't say unnecessary things. Their father-daughter interaction was heartwarming. I suddenly thought it would be nice for Ashley to meet my mother someday. From now on, I need to study management to be more helpful to Ashley. My life isn't just about making money anymore. I am fortunate to be able to make efforts to enrich my way of living. They say life is a continuous journey of learning. Nothing learned ever goes to waste. With that lesson in mind, I want to keep learning many things. Emily. Today, I visited a hot spring inn for a company retreat. Leaving the lively party with my colleagues, I was walking towards the hot spring, humming to myself, when I saw someone collapsed in front of the changing room. Rushing over, I found it was my supervisor, Emily, the chief. Emily. Are you okay? I called out, but she barely responded. Her body, which I instinctively lifted, and her face were quite red. It seemed she had fainted from the heat. I was startled by the sound escaping her lips. In my rush to help her, I hadn't noticed that her yukata had come loose, revealing a bit too much of her chest and thighs. Just then, I heard several male voices coming from the men's bath. I couldn't leave her in such a state here. Thinking that, I carried her to my nearby room. Did you see me? You're the worst. When she woke up, she misunderstood and berated me harshly, but this incident led me to discover Emily's true nature. My name is John. I work in sales for a company primarily dealing with food wholesale. I've always loved talking to and observing people, and my sociable nature has been a great asset in my sales job, keeping me at the top of the charts for the past year. Selling products is my job, but I enjoy the environment where I can visit various companies and stores and talk to different people. Even after 3 years, I still find it as enjoyable as when I was a rookie. Though busy and sometimes facing setbacks, I have a reliable boss and supportive colleagues, making my work very fulfilling. I might be an unusual type, but I look forward to going to work every day. Of course, the work itself is enjoyable, but there's another big reason. That reason is my supervisor, Emily. She exudes a cool, capable aura, and despite being in her 20s, she has already risen to a chief position thanks to her impressive work achievements. She is strict with both herself and others and has a stern attitude towards work, which makes some colleagues uneasy around her. Her perfectionism earns both admiration and criticism, and she never breaks her cool facade at work. However, when I was new, I saw Emily's attitude towards work and her sincere dealings with clients, and I felt a strong admiration, thinking, I want to be like Emily. Since then, I've always been watching her. She probably hasn't noticed. While observing her every day, I've also noticed some unexpected sides of her. She has a cute bear charm on a pen in her desk's pen holder, and one of the sticky notes on her computer says today's menu as a shopping list. These adorable aspects of her make me smile to myself. Of course, I can't let Emily see me like this. Initially, it was pure admiration, but over time, it has gradually changed. And now I am keenly aware of her as a woman. She probably hasn't noticed my feelings. And I'm sure she wouldn't be interested in someone with a baby face and a constantly smiling expression like mine. But that's okay. Even if our relationship is just that of a supervisor and subordinate in a company, being with her is enough for me. Lately, however, there's been a troubling development. 6 months ago, Aaron, the only son of President Johnson, was transferred to our sales department and took up the position of section manager. Since then, the once pleasant work environment has drastically changed. On the one hand, he forced younger employees to attend drinking parties and go on cabaret tours, and on the other, if he found someone he didn't like, especially those who criticized him, he would boldly declare, "I'll demote anyone who can't do their job." He also showed many outrageous behaviors, such as finding female employees he liked and saying, "I'll make her my secretary," to keep them close to him. His father, President Johnson, was a masterful businessman who had significantly grown the company and was known for his friendly demeanor. However, when it came to his own son, he seemed to be lenient, failing to reprimand him strongly. Taking advantage of his father's leniency, Aaron's behavior escalated, making everyone in the department constantly fearful of his mood. I, like everyone else, had my grievances with Aaron but couldn't voice them and had to keep my head down and work in silence. Emily, being directly under Aaron's supervision, was frequently called upon and given tasks. At first, it wasn't too bad, but over time, Emily's expressions grew darker after each encounter with Aaron, and I grew increasingly worried. Knowing Aaron, he might have been verbally abusing Emily with baseless accusations. Though I wanted to do something, my cowardice kept me from acting, and time just passed by. One day, I saw a familiar figure in the hallway. It was Emily. She seemed to have just returned from outside, and as I was about to greet her, she suddenly looked like she was about to collapse. "Watch out!" I rushed over and caught her. Though Emily was always slender, her body felt alarmingly light when I held her. "Emily, are you okay?" When I asked, she looked up at me with a pale face. Her complexion was so bad that I became even more worried and was about to ask more, but as soon as she saw my face, she screamed, "Don't touch me!" and pushed me away with surprising strength, causing me to stumble backward. Emily's expression changed to one of shock when she saw me standing there in a daze. She quickly said, "I'm sorry," and ran away from the scene. Watching her retreating figure, I recalled what had just happened. Sure, it was inappropriate to touch a woman's body so abruptly, even in an emergency. But her reaction seemed to stem from more than just that. Even though it was unexpected, it was a strong enough force to make a man like me stagger. A scream and expression mixed with fear. Even I could see it was a strong rejection. I felt deeply hurt, thinking, Emily must hate me now, and stared at the empty hallway, feeling devastated. From then on, I made sure not to approach Emily carelessly. I didn't want to scare her again, and if she rejected me again, I feared I wouldn't be able to recover. As time passed, under the shadow of Aaron's tyranny and my growing despondency, one by one, people started quitting, leaving behind only yes-men around Aaron. By that time, there was no one left in the department who would confront Aaron directly, and everyone was saying, "I just want to quit." Emily's expressions grew darker each day. Around that time, I noticed her desk had become unusually tidy. Her cute pens and sticky notes were gone, and I thought she might be considering quitting as well. Seeing her reminded me of all those who had left, and I felt a deep sadness as I looked around the increasingly empty department. A month later, President Johnson himself organized a company retreat to boost morale. Following Aaron's suggestion, it turned into a hot spring trip with the absurd rule that all unmarried female employees had to attend. Officially, it was to be considerate of married employees' family responsibilities. But everyone knew it was just an excuse for Aaron's ulterior motives. In our department, there were only 2 unmarried women, Emily and another woman named Catherine, who was currently on family leave. So it was effectively only Emily who was required to attend. I couldn't forget Aaron's leering face and Emily's dark expression when the trip was announced. During the trip, everyone had to cater to Aaron's whims, making us question the purpose of the retreat. After a day of exhausting sightseeing, we moved on to the evening banquet. While Aaron and his cronies were getting rowdy, a few of us who disapproved of him hatched a plan. Our goal was to get Aaron drunk and ensure some peaceful time until morning. We exchanged glances and took our positions. As the banquet began, the already cheerful Aaron started bothering Emily. Emily calmly deflected his advances, but he persisted. I decided to intervene by offering him a drink. "Aaron, This is a local specialty sake. Here, have some. Plastering my sales smile on my face, I poured the locally famous sake into Aaron's cup, which the hostess had said was once presented to the local lord. The fragrant aroma caught Aaron's attention, and he took a sip. This is good. For once, you brought something decent. Thank you. I smiled politely while refilling Aaron's cup with sake. Then another colleague chimed in, this is a great appetizer to go with the sake. We continued to offer Aaron drinks, and as he got drunker, he started boasting, I'm the next president, and getting rowdier with his sycophants. We had been forced to drink with Aaron for the past 6 months and knew he couldn't handle alcohol well and would soon fall asleep. Just as planned, after a while, Aaron started snoring loudly on the tatami mat in the banquet hall. My colleagues and I quietly smirked, thinking, we did it. Even his sycophants looked relieved. It seemed that even the yes-men Aaron had gathered didn't like him. Watching his blissfully unaware sleeping face, I felt a twinge of pity, but given his usual behavior, he didn't deserve any sympathy. We decided to leave him be and enjoy the banquet. I was having a great time with my colleagues for the first time in a while, but when I looked around, I noticed Emily was missing. Maybe she's resting in her room, now that she's free from Aaron. I was hoping that Emily could find some peace of mind during this trip, even if only for a little while. Her expression had been so downcast when this company retreat was announced. Remembering that moment, I felt my heart grow heavy like lead. To change my mood, I told my drinking colleagues, I'm going to the bath, and left the banquet. Thanks to the troublesome presents being passed out drunk, everyone was enjoying themselves and didn't even notice when I left. They continued to drink merrily. The hostess had mentioned upon our arrival that this inn has an open-air bath called a hidden hot spring. Since I'm not a heavy drinker and had barely touched any alcohol at the party, I decided to fully enjoy the hot spring. With a light step, I headed towards the changing room. It was at that moment I saw someone collapsed in front of the dressing room. Are you okay? I hurried over and lifted the person up. It was only then that I realized the person was Emily. She looked different without her glasses and in her yukata, which is why I didn't recognize her immediately. Her skin and face were flushed, and she felt hot to the touch. Emily. She responded faintly, which reassured me. She must have gotten overheated. Emily, leaning weakly against me, looked so vulnerable that inappropriate thoughts crept into my mind. I shook my head to clear those thoughts. Get a grip, idiot. What are you thinking about a woman who's unwell? Emily shifted and nestled her face into my chest. The sweet scent of her hair made my heart race, and I started feeling dizzy. At that moment, I heard voices from the men's bath, likely from a group of male guests. A cold sake after a bath is the best. Yeah. But you're always drinking, aren't you, Jack? That voice snapped me back to reality, and I panicked when I saw Emily's appearance. Whether it was from falling over or putting it on absent-mindedly, her yukata had come loose, revealing her chest and thighs to a dangerously precarious level. Not wanting anyone else to see her like this, I apologized, I'm sorry, Emily, and carefully adjusted her yukata, avoiding any improper contact. I picked up her glasses from the floor and carried her on my back to my room. I laid her on the futon and placed a cool towel on her face and legs, using a cold water bottle from the fridge to help her recover. After about 30 minutes, the redness in Emily's face subsided, and her expression softened. Relieved, I watched as Emily slowly opened her eyes. Still groggy, she blinked at the ceiling. Emily, how are you feeling? I asked cautiously, and she looked at me. She stared at my face for a few seconds before her expression turned to one of shock. Ah, she screamed. Wait, Emily, calm down. I called out to her, but Emily, in a panic, bombarded me with questions. I was supposed to be in the bath. Why am I in this room? Did you bring me here? Did you see me naked? No. I didn't see. You did see, didn't you? You're the worst. I misjudged you, John. Even though I had said words of denial, I was somehow misunderstood. Even if it was a misunderstanding, being called the worst by the person I care about was emotionally tough. Desperate to clear up the misunderstanding, I tried to explain, but Emily ignored me and picked up a pillow, ready to throw it. No, it's not like that. Please listen to me. I inadvertently raised my voice, wanting her to listen. Emily, startled, stopped. Seizing the opportunity, I hurriedly explained and justified myself. Please, just let me say this. I didn't do anything inappropriate to you. Your yukata was disheveled, so I fixed it. But I was very careful not to touch your skin. If that still made you uncomfortable, I'm sorry. I apologize. After apologizing, I explained everything that had happened since I found her outside the changing room. As Emily listened to my explanation, she looked at the nearby water bottles and wet towels, then lowered her head. You helped me, John, and I jumped to conclusions and panicked. I'm sorry. No, it's my fault for not thinking it through. It's only natural that you'd think the worst, given the situation. I should have been more considerate. I bowed my head as well. No, it's my fault. It's embarrassing to get heat stroke at my age. Emily said this with an embarrassed smile. Perhaps it was because of her yukata and the absence of her glasses, but her atmosphere and smile were different from what I was used to at work. And it made my heart skip a beat. So, Emily, are you feeling better now? Yes, thanks to you, John. Thank you. I'm glad. When I saw you collapsed, I thought my heart would stop. You were that worried about me. Well, right, you need to stay hydrated. I'll get you something to drink. Feeling that my emotions were slipping into my words due to the nervousness and excitement of being alone with Emily, I decided to step away under the pretext of getting a drink to calm myself. When I returned with a bottle of water and handed it to Emily, she smiled and said, "Thank you." As I admired her smile, I noticed her cheeks were still slightly red. Emily? Are you still feeling hot? Why? Well, your ears and cheeks are still a bit red. I'll open the window a bit. Oh, that's... Her words were drowned out by the sound of the window opening, letting in a cool breeze. Let me know if it gets too cold. It's not good to chill your body too much. Thank you. I spoke to her and then sat at a respectful distance. Emily gazed at me intently. Emily? Is something wrong? No, nothing. John, really, thank you. Her repeated gratitude made me realize how considerate she was. We made small talk, but eventually, the conversation died down. And silence filled the room. Unable to think of anything to say and noticing Emily still looked a bit unwell, I saw her staring at the bottle in her hand. Just as I wondered what to do, there was a knock on the door, followed by a cheerful voice. Hey, John. Are you back from the bath? The banquet's over, but we're not done drinking. Come join us in my room. It seemed my colleagues had come to get me. It was a welcome distraction from the awkwardness. I'm going to join them. Please, take your time and go back to your room whenever you feel up to it. You don't need to move anything, just take it easy. Wait. Watch out. As Emily tried to stand and stop me, she felt dizzy and started to fall forward. I caught her just in time. Emily, who had collapsed into my chest, raised her head and our eyes met. The unexpected closeness made my heart race, but seeing her eyes glisten with tears made me hold my breath. Please, don't leave. She whispered weakly, looking down. Seeing her shoulders tremble slightly, I couldn't help but tighten my grip around her. John? I heard a noise, are you okay? A concerned voice called from the other side of the door. I'm fine. Just tripped and almost fell. I think I'm more tired than I thought, so I'm going to rest now. While supporting Emily, I responded to my colleagues, declining their invitation. All right, take it easy. We did have a long day. Rest up. See you tomorrow. I heard the sound of footsteps as they walked away. Once the footsteps were completely out of earshot, I called out to Emily. Are you okay? Let's sit down for now. Watch your step. Supporting her unsteady frame, I gently guided her to a soft cushion. Her face looked a bit pale. I'm sorry for holding you back, John. Seeing her so different from her usual cool demeanor, I hesitated before speaking. Did something happen? Does it have to do with why you've looked so down recently? Emily's head snapped up at my words. Her expression shifted from one of surprise to one that looked like she was about to cry. John, you noticed. I've been followed by someone. What? You mean? I think I'm being stalked. Stalked? Emily began to speak slowly. About half a year ago, I started feeling like someone was following me. And things like stationery from my desk would go missing. They were gifts from my sister that I cherished, but I couldn't find them anywhere. For half a year. At first, I thought I was imagining it, but the feeling kept growing. But I couldn't talk to anyone about it. I was stunned by Emily's words. I had never known anyone personally affected by stalking, but I'd seen it on the news and TV shows. People being followed at night, their homes being broken into, sometimes even losing their lives. Hearing about it from someone close made my heart ache, thinking of her enduring such fear alone for so long. Have you talked to the police? I don't have any solid evidence, so I haven't gone yet. I might just be imagining things. I'm sorry. I didn't notice anything. John. You've always been there for me since I was a newbie, but I didn't realize you were suffering. I clenched my fists in frustration. The frustration of not noticing the changes despite being so close, and the anger towards the person tormenting Emily, mixed and surged through me. It's not your fault, John. And working hard with you and everyone helped me forget the bad things. She said, smiling. Her kindness, even while she was suffering the most, made my chest tighten with sorrow instead of the usual joy. I've always loved hot springs. So I was a bit excited about this trip. I thought I could forget about the stalker for a while. She laughed softly, perhaps at a memory. When I go to hot springs with my family, I have to take care of my little sister, so I never get to relax. You have a sister? Yes. I haven't mentioned it before, have I? I also have brothers, but there's quite an age gap. They're quite a handful for the whole family. Adorable, though. Her smile was warm and kind, reflecting her love for her family. That's why I ended up taking a long bath. It's funny that I stayed in until I almost passed out. But I'm sorry for causing you trouble, John. Not at all. It wasn't any trouble. I'm actually happy that she got a bit overheated, because it means I get to see her smile and talk with her like this. Of course, I'm worried about the stalking, but knowing why Emily's been so down recently makes me feel relieved. John, thank you so much for today. Anne, I'm sorry for the way I reacted before. You were just trying to help. But I overreacted because I was so scared. Her words reminded me of a few months ago. I had thought she hated me, which made me feel down, but given her situation, it made sense that she would be afraid of being touched by a man. Now, I understood why she had reacted so strongly. No, it's okay. I'm just glad you weren't hurt, both then and now. I smiled, hoping to reassure her. Emily looked at me and softly said, You're not like the stalker, John. You're so kind. Her eyes wavered slightly. Seeing that, I had the urge to hold her close. But I suppressed it. I must not scare Emily any further, as she already harbors a fear of men. As I tried to calm myself, I glanced at the clock on the wall. It was past 10 p.m. I'm sorry. It's already quite late. You should get some rest. I'll walk you back to your room. Saying that, I tried to stand up. But Emily didn't move. Emily. I know it's a strange request, but can I stay here tonight? What? Her unexpected request left me frozen halfway through standing up. Looking up at me, she asked again. Is it okay? Her innocent expression made my heart race. No, it's not bad, but... Inside, part of me was jumping for joy at the idea of spending more time with her, while another part warned that it might not be appropriate. With my heart pounding, the part that wanted to be with Emily won, and I awkwardly prepared another futon at a respectable distance. Normally, this would be easy, but my mind and heart were in overdrive, making the task seem complicated. If you want more space between us, just let me know. And I swear I won't do anything weird. You can even tie my hands and feet if you want. I couldn't even look at her as I said this, but I heard a soft laugh. Looking up, I saw Emily laughing. I'm sorry. You looked so funny, John. But it's okay. I trust you. Thank you. Her words made me push down any inappropriate thoughts. After making sure she was settled in her futon, I turned off the lights. Good night. Good night, John. Hearing Emily's breathing in the darkness made my heart race, and I tightly closed my eyes, trying to dispel any impure thoughts. Don't think about anything. Just sleep, as quickly as possible. Trying not to think about it only made my senses more acute. Just as I considered counting sheep to fall asleep, I felt the futon move slightly. Someone was there, and a trembling hand touched my back. After a moment's hesitation, I slowly turned to see Emily's anxious face in the dim light. Is it okay if I touch you a little? I asked for confirmation, just to be sure. Emily nodded. Seeing that, I gently put my arm around her back. Then, just before touching her, I gently patted her back, saying, "Excuse me." When I was little, whenever I had a scary dream and couldn't sleep, I would sneak into my grandma's bed, and she would pat my back like this. Your grandma. So you had such a cute childhood, too, right? Well, yeah. Thank you. I feel somehow at ease when I'm with you. Emily's words made my heart skip a beat. Isn't this a nice atmosphere? And Emily's words, they felt like, is that so? I feel the same way. It reminds me of my childhood. Max, my dog at home, he would sneak into my bed. We often slept together. Max. Emily giggled as she said this. Like the family dog? I couldn't help but feel I might not be entirely out of the romantic running, but for now. I told myself that helping Emily feel at ease was what mattered most. As I continued to gently pat her back, I heard Emily's peaceful breathing as she fell asleep. Good night, Emily. Of course, there was no reply. Even after confirming she had fallen into a deep sleep, I kept gently patting her back. The next morning, I knew it was morning by the sunlight streaming in and the birds chirping outside. Opening my eyes from the same position as last night, I saw Emily's beautiful sleeping face right in front of me. Honestly, I wasn't composed enough to sleep well with her so close. I was too excited to sleep at all. Despite being sleep deprived, looking at Emily's serene sleeping face, I strongly felt, I want to protect this person. I only have average strength and stamina, but I wanted to do whatever I could for her. As I was thinking this and looking at Emily's sleeping face, her eyes opened. Looking into her unfocused eyes, I greeted her. Good morning, Emily. Good morning. Still groggy, she echoed my greeting like a parrot, but in the next moment, her eyes popped wide open. Then she sprang up with great force. John. I'm so sorry about last night. It's alright, really. More importantly, did you sleep well? Emily's face turned bright red to her ears. Yes. I slept very well. Her flustered response and the sight of her putting on her glasses while speaking formally to me, her junior, was so cute that I couldn't help but smile. I then conveyed to her what I had decided in my heart. Emily, please don't carry everything by yourself anymore. I'll do whatever I can to help, so please rely on me. Emily looked up at my words. I could see tears welling up in her eyes. Thank you. John. Emily said this, wiping her tears and showing a smile. Should I walk you to your room? I'm still worried about you after yesterday. I feel bad asking you to go that far, and I had a good rest, so I'll be fine. With that, Emily stood up smoothly. I also stood up. I'm glad I could talk to you, John. I feel bad relying on my junior, but I hope I can consult with you again. Thank you so much. See you later. With a smile and a wave, Emily left the room. As I listened to the sound of the door closing, I stood there for a while, recalling the dreamlike time of last night. Still in a dreamy state, the birds chirping outside brought me back to reality, and just as I was about to get ready for a walk outside, it happened. I thought I heard a voice from a bit of a distance. The moment I heard that voice, I had a bad feeling and dashed out of the room, running at full speed towards the source of the voice. Stop it. Around the corner of the hallway, I saw two figures arguing. Come on, just a little. Let go of me. My bad feeling turned out to be right. There stood Emily and Aaron. Aaron was grabbing Emily's arm as she struggled. Though her tone was strong, Emily's face was pale. "Let go of Emily!" I shouted as I pried Aaron's hand off Emily's arm. Perhaps shocked by my sudden appearance, Aaron's hand easily released Emily. "John!" A weak voice escaped from Emily, whom I was shielding behind me. Hearing that voice, anger surged through my body. "John? What are you doing here? Aaron, what are you doing? Forcing yourself on a woman who's clearly saying no is the lowest of the low." I've been angry with Aaron's behavior before, but never have I wanted to punch him in the face as much as I did now. "John? Are you trying to play the knight in shining armor? Don't make me laugh. I'm the son of President Johnson, you know?" From behind me, Emily's voice reached my ears as I faced off against the sneering Aaron. "The stalker, it was him," she said, extending her hand towards me. In her trembling hand was a pen with a bear charm that had been on Emily's desk. I looked from the pen to Aaron's face. Aaron was smirking. He stole my personal items from my desk and followed me home, all of it. It was Aaron. Hearing that, I felt my head was about to boil over. So this guy was the one tormenting Emily. I glared sharply at Aaron, condemning him. Being the president's son doesn't give you the right to commit crimes. Do you have any idea how much suffering Emily has been through because of you? But Aaron remained arrogantly unrepentant. What's wrong with managing Emily's belongings and actions? Besides, I arranged this trip, asking my father to make it happen so that shy Emily could come out of her shell. He proudly blabbered about his stalking behavior as if it were for Emily's benefit. That's all your delusion. In reality, Emily is terrified of your actions. Stop stalking her immediately. What? Stalking? What are you talking about? Everything I've done has been a proof of my love for Emily. Right, Emily? You'll accept my feelings, won't you? With a self-absorbed expression, Aaron spoke to Emily. In response, Emily stepped forward to stand beside me. Seeing her determined look despite her trembling hands, I was surprised, but she nodded at me resolutely. I have never had any special feelings for you, Aaron. Your actions have been nothing but a nuisance. Please never do them again. If you do anything more, I will report it to the proper authorities. Facing the culprit, Emily's poised and firm stance was just like her usual self. Aaron's face turned red as he finally realized his misunderstanding. Don't mess with me. You too, making a fool out of me. Do you know what happens if you go against the president's son? I'll get you both fired. I'd heard this line countless times before. Whenever something didn't go his way, he would threaten with demotion or firing. I was fed up with it. That's fine by me. John. What are you saying? Emily, it's enough. If we continue working under someone like him, we'll end up hating the job we used to love so much. It's because of you that I came to love this job. John. Emily looked surprised at my words, and I smiled at her. Emily looked like she wanted to say something, but Aaron interrupted with a triumphant look on his face. You said it. There's no taking it back now. You'll regret it later. I won't regret it. In fact, it's a relief to not have to see your face anymore. Well, fine. You can act tough all you want. Our company won't feel a thing losing someone like you. Satisfied with getting my resignation, Aaron, seeming to have forgotten about pestering Emily, laughed loudly and walked away. Watching Aaron's arrogant retreat, I let out a deep breath. John, were you serious just now? Emily asked in a trembling voice. When I looked at her, the determined expression she had earlier was gone, replaced by a sad and anxious look in her eyes. It's not too late. I can go and ask Aaron to cancel your resignation. Emily. It's okay. I touched her shoulder to stop her from running off. When our eyes met, a single tear fell from her eye. I can't bear the thought of you quitting because of me. Emily started to cry. For a moment, I hesitated, but then I gently pulled her into an embrace. It's not your fault, Emily. It's my decision. I couldn't forgive Aaron's behavior. With Emily crying into my chest, I confessed the feelings I had been holding back. I've always liked you, Emily. That's why I couldn't stand seeing you in pain. I would have regretted it more if I had let Aaron's despicable actions slide. I'm glad I could protect you like this. Emily slowly lifted her face. Her wet eyes met mine. John. Until now, I've always seen you as a cute junior. But after spending the night together and hearing you say I could rely on you, I realized my own feelings. I feel comfortable with you. I don't have to put on a facade in front of you. I feel so at ease. Emily rested her cheek against my chest. I love you too, John. Her words resonated through my body and heart. Hearing the word love from Emily made my heart beat loudly. I can hear your heartbeat, John. Emily. With you by my side, I can do my best. So, please stay with me from now on, okay? Emily's blushing face showed a girlish smile. It was the most beautiful smile I had ever seen on her. The day after we returned from the trip, I headed to Aaron's desk with my resignation letter. When Aaron saw me, he smirked. John. What do you want? As I said yesterday, I'm quitting this company. When I placed the envelope on his desk, Aaron laughed loudly again. A resignation letter? Just remember, don't come crying to me when you're struggling. Who's going to be crying? What? What are you talking about? Obviously, it'll be you. He glared at me, annoyed by my calm demeanor. Aaron. I'm quitting too. And so am I. In the next moment, voices started to rise from behind me. While Aaron was still confused, envelopes marked with resignation letters were placed one after another on his desk. Finally, a beautifully written resignation letter was placed in front of him. I'm resigning as well. It was Emily who placed it. Behind us stood more than half of our department. Everyone here had submitted their resignation letters just like me. Aaron, stunned by the sudden turn of events, turned pale as he faced the overwhelming number of resignation letters. You seemed worried about my future, Aaron, but rest assured. We decided to leave this company and start a new one. Together. Everyone nodded in agreement. Next to me, Emily smiled. After declaring my resignation to Aaron yesterday, Emily and I discussed leaving the company and starting a new one together. I knew that just my resignation wouldn't stop Aaron stalking, so for her safety, I urged Emily to resign as well. At first, Emily was reluctant to quit. I had heard she had a younger sister, but it turned out she was the eldest of 5 siblings, and along with her father, she was supporting the household due to her mother's poor health. That's why, no matter how hard it was, I couldn't quit my job. Hearing her circumstances, I felt a painful tightness in my chest. Thinking of how she had been fighting the fear of Aaron stalking while suppressing her own feelings for the sake of her family nearly brought tears to my eyes. I squeezed Emily's hand tightly and said, "You don't have to endure it anymore. I'm here with you." Emily smiled, relieved by my words. Seeing that smile, I made a vow to myself once again. I will protect this person no matter what. With our resolve to leave the company firm, we went around explaining the situation to our colleagues who had been there since before Aaron's transfer. Most of them, after hearing our story, offered to work with us, leading to today's mass resignation. Leaving a dumbfounded Aaron behind, we headed to the president's office. We intended to inform President Johnson, Aaron's father, and the company president about Aaron's past behavior, his stalking of Emily, and any other offenses, and to demand an investigation and proper punishment. Though surprised by our sudden visit, President Johnson listened intently to our account. After hearing our story, he bowed deeply and apologized. His face had turned pale, and he looked visibly more haggard within a short period. It must have been a shocking report for him as the company president. He promised to conduct a thorough investigation and to impose appropriate penalties on Aaron, as well as on himself. Later, we established our new company and threw ourselves into our work. The busy days flew by as we grew the company, making decisions collectively and sharing ideas actively. Feeling a different kind of fulfillment than before, I realized I really do love this job. One day, we received a phone call at the office. The caller was President Johnson. He informed us that the investigation into Aaron had been completed, and Aaron had admitted to his crimes. President Johnson had personally contacted the police. Aaron was, of course, dismissed and would be monitored henceforth. His father decided not to sever ties but to focus on Aaron's rehabilitation. The company had suffered from the loss of us employees, leading to deteriorated relationships with clients and declining performance. Even though President Johnson personally requested, "Please come back," none of us nodded in agreement. Instead, we promised to assist by forming a business partnership, helping the company rebuild trust. I cannot go back, but I believe we took the best possible action to repay the company for the many years we worked there. This arrangement benefited both companies, and slowly but surely, President Johnson's company began mending its client relationships while we secured new contracts, further boosting our growth. Everyone who once felt burdened by work now worked with smiles on their faces. I was one of them, and John. About the new contract. Seeing her efficiently handling work, I couldn't help but smile. We're at work now. Stop grinning. Emily, now my partner, scolded me sharply. Sorry, but... In our private office, I gently hugged Emily. Tenderly, as if handling something fragile. I just thought how happy I am to see you like this. Oh, come on. Emily laughed softly, exasperated by my words. Are you happy too, Emily? Of course. Her immediate answer made me hold her a little tighter. Emily relaxed from work mode, smiling peacefully in my arms. Her smile was so gentle and calm. It was the most special smile, one she showed only to me. I'm an ordinary guy with no wealth, strength, or special talents. I used to be too scared to stand up to those in power, but that day, I mustered the courage to protect what mattered most to me. Thanks to that, I haven't lost what is most important. I want to continue protecting her, the one who gives me so much courage and strength. For Emily's smile, I believe I can do anything. Hey, isn't it back yet? How long are you going to keep us waiting? Jeers echoed through the pitch-dark hall. I work part-time at a musical instrument store. Today, the store was hosting a big event, a piano concert. But unfortunately, we got hit by a blackout, leaving the venue in total darkness. 20 minutes had passed without the concert starting, and the audience's irritation and anger were palpable. Enough already! I'm leaving! Several members of the weary audience stood up from their seats when I, a part-time worker, said, I'll go. Then, I headed towards the piano. I felt my way to the piano in the dark. The keys were hard to see. There was no sheet music. But none of that mattered. I played the keys, one note at a time. And this event would go on to change my life significantly. My name is John, I'm 29 years old. My job is tuning pianos, though I'm just a part-timer at the music store. Some people give me strange looks for choosing part-time work at my age instead of a full-time position. Even so, the store manager, Mike, doesn't push me to change roles and lets me do as I please. He's a very understanding person. One day, Mike introduced me to someone from the company. The store was about to expand its floor space, and this person was brought in from another store to help lead and manage the expansion. Hi, I'm Jessica. I'll be your new manager, but you all are the experts here. Please show me the ropes. The woman who greeted us in a friendly yet confident manner at the morning meeting was stunningly beautiful. She had fair, healthy skin and shiny short black hair. And she had well-defined features that seemed more suited to a magazine or TV screen than a music store. The other staff and part-time workers were also overwhelmed, but when it came up in conversation later, they were at a loss for words. With "she's beautiful" being the only comment that came to mind. John, can I see you for a moment? As I began my rounds checking the pianos, Mike called out to me. Jessica stood beside him. It seemed like he was introducing everyone one by one. This is John, our part-timer. He's a piano tuner and quite skilled, though he could use a bit more charm. I couldn't help but protest, as Mike shrugged apologetically. I treat customers politely. I know. That's not what I meant. It's more about having charm. And he tends to be quite guarded. Feeling like I'd just been compared to a wary animal, I got even more annoyed. I thought I was open with you, Mike. You need to open up to others too, not just me. Yeah. So, Jessica, if you need anything related to pianos, he's your guy. He's just a part-timer in position, but a true professional in skill. Please don't raise the bar too high. I couldn't say, it hurts when I can't meet expectations and disappoint people, so I just nodded ambiguously and got through the moment. John, can we talk about the shift the day after tomorrow? The next day, Jessica came to me right after the morning meeting. Sure, what's up? About your work location the day after tomorrow. Is it a shift to another store? No, I want you to come to a concert with me. She handed me a flyer for a concert at a hall in the neighboring city. The organizer was a pianist known by anyone who's ever touched a piano. I'd gone to hear him play several times myself. Is it work? Yes, we need to tune the piano before the rehearsal. Our company is contracted with him. I see, but why me? Aren't you also a piano tuner? Yes, but Mike praised you highly, and I thought it would be a good opportunity for you to gain some experience in a professional setting. Experience. I'm not planning on stepping up in my career, but maybe it has some meaning. Still, even as a part-timer, I'm a member of the company. If gaining experience is part of the policy, I have to comply. Besides, I had no reason to refuse. I wasn't thrilled about going to a concert hall, but if it's work, I had no choice. I nodded, trying not to let on how reluctant I was. On the day of the event, I followed Jessica onto the stage, passing through the bustling hall where only staff were preparing. Timothy, long time no see. I'm Jessica from Sakura Instruments. Hey Jessica, looking forward to working with you today. Jessica exchanged greetings with Timothy, the pianist and concert organizer. They seemed to know each other. As Jessica got to work, Timothy looked troubled. Listen, Jessica, this piano's been acting up lately. Maybe it's just nerves, but it's been off since the venue changed. As he said this, while stroking the grand piano, it indeed had an unusual tone. The keys themselves weren't in bad shape. Yet each note seemed to flutter unpredictably, like butterflies in the field. Why is this happening with a piano that is being treated normally? More importantly, it was strange for Timothy's piano to be like this. Jessica frowned but immersed herself in the task. How does it sound? Jessica stepped away from the piano, wiping sweat from her brow. Timothy placed his hands on the keys and let his fingers glide. His favorite piece filled the hall, or so it seemed, until he stopped after about 3 measures. Timothy groaned. Jessica's shoulders slumped. Jessica's tuning was impeccable. The sound was coherent. But the core of the notes still seemed scattered. I'm sorry, could I have a bit more time? No, you did well. I'll just adjust it during rehearsal. Hey, Jessica. I couldn't help but whisper to her. If you tune it for a brighter sound, it might help. A brighter sound? That way, the direction of the sound might align better. Wait a minute. Jessica pulled me closer to Timothy. I'm sorry, just a little more time, please. If this doesn't work, we won't charge for the tuning. Well, if you insist. Thank you. Jessica bowed her head and put me in front of the piano. She made some excuse to Timothy about needing assistance and then whispered to me. Give it a try. Me? I'll take responsibility. Reluctantly, I accepted the tuning tools and touched the piano. As soon as I played the keys, the discomfort was evident. The sound was higher and louder than expected. Timothy's remark about the piano being nervous seemed accurate. I focused solely on my fingers and ears, engaging with the piano. I had no idea how much time had passed, but I eventually achieved a satisfactory result. Finally, I whispered to the piano, "It's okay, your sound is the best in the world. I'm done." When I turned around, Jessica and Timothy were staring at me, dumbfounded. Jessica had completely stepped away from the piano. I wondered if it was okay, considering it was supposed to be her tuning the piano. Oh, right. Excuse me. Timothy sat down at the piano. You had such an intense focus. I couldn't interrupt, Jessica said beside me. As soon as she spoke, beautiful melodies flowed from the piano like a song. It seemed the piano's mood had improved. Both Timothy, playing the piano, and Jessica, standing beside me, were wide-eyed, captivated by the music. I too was absorbed in Timothy's performance for a while. After finishing a full piece, Timothy stood up, shook my hand vigorously. "You're amazing. You fixed it perfectly. I'm glad you're satisfied." Timothy happily started his second piece and then moved into rehearsal. We sighed with relief and stepped off the stage. Sitting on a bench in the lobby before the audience arrived, I watched the rehearsal on the monitor. I had planned to return to the store afterward, but Timothy insisted I stay and listen, so they arranged a seat for me. Jessica, who bought coffee from the vending machine, handed me a canned drink. "Thank you." "No, thank you." Jessica sat next to me and sipped her coffee. Even with a canned coffee, she looked like she was in an advertisement, and I watched absent-mindedly. Unbothered by my gaze, she looked back at me. "Who are you?" "What do you mean?" "I'm a part-timer at Sakura Instruments." "No, that's not what I mean." "You know what I'm trying to say." Jessica pointed at the piano on the monitor. "Your tuning skills were extraordinary. I can't believe you're just a part-timer at a music store." "It was just a coincidence that I matched well with that piano." "No way." "Hey, John." A voice called out to me from behind. I turned instinctively and immediately regretted coming here. "Seriously, John." "Isaac." A classmate from my student days was standing there, leaning on a cart loaded with cardboard boxes. "Long time no see." "So, you're still involved with pianos, huh?" "No, I'm doing other work." "Other work?" Isaac seemed to understand from the bag of tuning tools beside us, nodding exaggeratedly and smirking. "Yeah, it makes sense. It'd be impossible for a loser who humiliated himself to still be playing the piano." "What are you doing, Isaac?" Ignoring his belittling comment, I tried to change the subject. Isaac tapped the cardboard boxes with his finger. "Getting ready for the opening. I'm in the same agency as Timothy. Today, I'm in charge of handing out pamphlets at the reception. You know, now that I'm getting recognized, I need to interact with the fans. Being popular keeps me busy." "I see. Well, I should get going." "Are you staying to listen to Timothy's performance?" "Yeah, I guess." "Then make sure not to feel too inferior. You're always so weak under pressure." Leaving behind a full piece of advice, Isaac walked away. Jessica seemed unsure of what to say, standing beside me. He was a classmate from music college. "You went to a music college? There are many who get in." "You asked who I was earlier, right?" "I'm really nobody. But I majored in piano, so I have a good ear." "That's all." "I see." Not wanting to say more, I fell silent. Jessica didn't press further, and only the sound of the piano through the speakers filled the space. "Mike said you don't open up to people," Jessica murmured. "But you open up to the piano." "Do I open up to the piano? Is that how it looked?" "I don't play the piano anymore." "But why am I still working with pianos?" "No, I don't want to think about it." Still, her words lingered in my ears. Until the rehearsal ended, I was lost in thought. Our music store, now successfully expanded, decided to hold an event to celebrate the reopening. We were hosting a concert at a nearby hall with a pianist under contract. And the piano used in the performance would be put up for sale. It was all Jessica's idea. I thought it was a bold move, but the pre-event publicity was tremendous, and all the seats were sold out well before the event. I was busy moving around the hall as part of the preparation staff. Of course, the piano tuning for the video was also my responsibility. "All right, that should do it." I gave the well-tuned piano a final wipe with a cloth. "I hope someone wants you." If anyone saw me talking to a piano, I wondered what they'd think. But Jessica's words about me opening up to the piano still lingered in my mind. It's true, the time spent facing the piano is comforting. Even if I no longer play, I still want others to appreciate the beauty of the piano. So, perhaps her words weren't wrong after all. The rehearsal ended, and the audience began filing into the hall. Despite the heavy rain outside, the hall was nearly full. I stayed backstage, ready to step in. if the piano had any issues during the performance. It was a lucky break to hear the pianist's performances from such a prime spot. The starting buzzer would sound any moment now. Just as I glanced at my watch, everything went dark. What? I looked up and around, but it was pitch black everywhere. The murmurs from the audience began to grow louder. Staff members hurried around the hall with flashlights and phone lights. Attention, everyone! Due to a nearby lightning strike, we are experiencing a blackout. Please be patient while we work on restoring power. A staff member shouted to the audience. A blackout, what a hassle! But with backup generators, the power should be back in no time, within 5 minutes or so. Everyone waited, slightly anxious, in the hall lit only by emergency lights. But the lights didn't come back on. 20 minutes had already passed since the blackout. The backstage area was filled with frustration. Is the power back yet? The backup generator isn't working for some reason. Make another announcement. The staff members exchanged updates around me. Hey, isn't it back yet? How long are you going to keep us waiting? Forget it, I'm leaving. The audience started getting restless, with occasional angry shouts directed at the stage and the staff. Some people had already left their seats and headed to the lobby. There was still no sign of the power returning. This isn't good. Should we start? But performing in this situation. I could hear Jessica and Mike discussing nearby. The pianists we had today could play in a blackout, and they could play even with their eyes closed. But that wasn't the issue. Using the pianists who were invited for this special event just to calm the audience was the problem. We didn't want to disrespect them. But at this rate, the concert would be a disaster. John. Mike called my name in a strained voice. I knew immediately what he wanted. He wanted me to perform. I can't do it. I haven't played in years. But you've been listening to piano music all this time. That's. Mike knew why I had stopped playing the piano. He had never once pushed me to return, yet now, in this situation. A person who loves the piano like you can't be unable to play. I've been waiting for the day you'd return to the stage. But why now, of all times? I saw it as a chance. A chance? The stage is completely dark now. No one will know it's you, nor would they think it's you. Because of the blackout. No one expects a perfect performance. Even if a child played, they'd be satisfied. That's. Mike was lowering the bar as much as possible to give me the courage to step up. John. Jessica tapped me on the shoulder. Actually, I've heard you play before. I asked Mike to let me listen. What? Just once. The piece you played in a competition when you were in high school. That piece. I really like that piece. Could you play it for me? Her casual tone naturally pushed me forward. Jessica's voice shielded me from the jeers coming from the audience as she escorted me to the piano. You added a personal touch to the opening, right? It was fantastic. That was just a kid's arrangement. Well, I was mesmerized. Jessica sat down and opened the lid of the piano keys. It seemed she intended to listen to my performance from beside me. So, I'm playing for Jessica now. There are no other people in this space. With that thought, my fingers started to glide over the keys naturally. Immediately, the noise in the hall disappeared, leaving only the sound of the piano. The audience wasn't there. It was just me and Jessica. A familiar piece of classical music I'd played countless times. Even though I hadn't played in years, my fingers, arms, and feet remembered. This phrase was one of my favorites. I added the arrangement Jessica requested. This part was a bit challenging, but it was incredibly beautiful. One after another, the structure of the songs raced through my mind. Memories of the enjoyable times back then came flooding back. Despite the hiatus, playing the piano filled the gap. Thank you, you truly are a wonderful piano. Just a little longer, please stay with me. I surrendered to the piano, drifting in a sea of sound. How comfortable this is. I want to stay immersed in it longer. I reluctantly played the final phrase. As I lifted my hands from the keys, a brilliant white light enveloped me. I instinctively closed my eyes, squinting them open after a moment. At that instant, the hall was filled with thunderous applause. I looked up to see the audience, standing, clapping, and whistling. What? What was this applause for? What was I doing just now? Oh, right, there was a blackout, and I played the piano, and now the power's back? Oh no! I hurriedly stood up and ran to the stage wings. But then, I stopped abruptly. John! Mike looked worried, and Jessica was running after me. I turned my back to them and faced the audience. I bowed deeply before finally retreating to the stage wings. Thank you so much for today. After my performance, the concert had resumed successfully. I was in a daze until Jessica and Mike pulled me out after cleanup. In the now calm dressing room, I drank some tea to soothe my parched throat. After the concert, there were so many inquiries about who the pianist was that played in the dark. But I kept your name a secret. Should I have told them? No way. I don't want the attention. I understand how you feel. Still, today's performance was truly amazing. It was because of you, Jessica. You listening by my side helped me play. I didn't do anything. If anything, I dragged you out against your will. Even so, you helped me forget the audience so I could play. Can I tell you something? I started to explain how I ended up where I am now. I had been playing the piano since kindergarten and continued through high school without losing interest. By the time I entered music college, I was already known in the industry as a student pianist. I got my piano tuning certification around that time. I wanted to be able to tune the piano I played myself. At the beginning of college, I was unstoppable, winning every competition I entered. Some even called me a genius pianist. I was happy to be highly evaluated, but what I enjoyed most was seeing the audience's reactions to my playing. However, as I was about to graduate, I hit a wall. That wall was Isaac. He was a classmate from the same college, and we knew each other. When I accidentally heard his performance at a competition, it gave me goosebumps. His bold and rough yet delicate rhythm was captivating. Though he had been unknown until then, he began to emerge as a late bloomer. He also had a piano tuning certification, and his competition results were soon on par with mine, leading to frequent comparisons. When we competed in the same contest, Isaac won first place. Meanwhile, I didn't even make second place, and I ended up in 10th. In our first shared competition, he showcased his superior talent. I was shaken, and instead of enjoying playing the piano, I started obsessing over rankings, fearing another significant defeat by him. At college, everyone knew the competition results immediately. It was impossible not to care. And my piano, played without joy, couldn't be accepted. I became terrified of performing in front of people. Even if I enjoyed playing during practice, my performances were terrible in front of an audience. I made repeated, impossible mistakes, and one day, I even got jeered during a performance. Since then, performing in front of people has been a traumatic experience, and I became reluctant to draw any attention at all. Naturally, my reputation plummeted. Friends I thought I had began treating me coldly. It turned out my relationships were merely based on my fame. Not everyone was like that, but I became paranoid, unsure of what others truly thought of me. Even those who smiled on the surface might have felt contempt for me. As a result, I avoided getting close to people, fearing intimacy. I see. I'm sorry for making you talk about such a painful experience. Jessica looked sad after hearing my story. No, I'm sorry for burdening you with my story. Why apologize? I'm glad you shared it with me. It means you've opened your heart to me, even if just a little, right? Well, Jessica was right. Talking about my trauma meant I wanted her to know. And somehow, it didn't feel bad that she knew. She had made it possible for me to play the piano again, after all. Was it because you couldn't see how others were looking at you that you could play earlier? That means it's a battle within yourself whether you can play in the future. A battle within myself. Yes, you said the audience's reaction was your favorite part, right? Then you can't ignore the audience's presence. Her words struck me. Indeed, even if I was scared of the audience, what I sought was their reaction. Therefore, the real fight isn't with the jeering audience but with myself. Hey, I have a suggestion. Jessica showed me a video on her phone. The screen was dark, but I recognized it as my performance from earlier. Today's concert allowed recording, right? Timothy recorded this video and wants to post it on social media if you agree. What's the purpose? Would there even be a demand for a performance by an unknown pianist in the dark? Of course, we want many people to hear this amazing performance. We'll keep your name anonymous and hide your face. But I want you to see the reactions and comments on the posted video to see how many people are moved by your performance. Do you think it'll work? I guarantee it. Just as she said, the video garnered a lot of attention. The video, titled "A Masterpiece in the Dark During a Power Outage," received numerous praise comments. Have you accepted it now? Your piano playing can entertain people. Jessica proudly showed me the comments. She also mentioned that there were interview requests about the video. Startled, I had no choice but to nod. As I recalled the events of that day during the interviews, I felt a renewed desire to play the piano again. When I consulted Jessica, she happily proposed several opportunities for performances. Starting with small local competitions, through various connections, I gradually became accustomed to performing in front of people. Each performance, where I could feel the audience's reactions directly, was enjoyable, and I kept participating one after another. By then, it was revealed that I was the pianist in the dark performance, and soon, the name John the Pianist became widely known. Then, I was invited to be a guest at a concert hosted by Timothy. I owed him so much, so I couldn't thank him enough. After rehearsal, I was chatting with Jessica in the lobby when Isaac naturally approached to greet us. He was the reason I had stopped playing, but the issue was my lack of skill. Though his words were harsh, I couldn't bring myself to dislike him, so I responded without dwelling on past trauma. So, you're performing today? Yeah, thanks to Timothy. Are you performing too, Isaac? No, I'm backstage today. By the way, I heard you have a concert coming up with Sakura Instruments? If you let me know, I could perform too. Oh, right. Jessica interrupted Isaac's sales pitch, clapping her hands as if remembering something. I finally found out about you. The problem with Timothy's piano before, that was your doing, wasn't it? What? What are you talking about? What do you mean? Apparently, he interrupted another tuner working on Timothy's piano, claiming he'd do it because he was from the same agency. No one dared to stop him because he had some standing in the agency. And according to those who witnessed it, he tuned the piano to suit his playing style. What? No wonder the sound was so off. Isaac and Timothy's playing styles are entirely different. Why would you do that? Probably, he decided to shift to being a tuner before his declining skills became apparent. This isn't just my guess. And it's based on information from the agency as well. Ah. It seemed to have hit the mark. Thanks to you, I almost messed up in front of Timothy. John saved the day. But this could damage our credibility, so I reported it to the agency. And by the way, you have a terrible reputation among the office girls. They all make unpleasant faces when your name comes up. Forcing dates. Inappropriate touching, bad-mouthing Timothy. I reported all that too. No way. Isaac's face turned pale. Maybe that's why he's backstage today. Maybe you had some talent at one point, but you got too arrogant. Why don't you start from scratch? I recommend working part-time at a music store. In the end, Isaac's contract wasn't renewed, and rumors spread within the small industry, making it hard for him to find a new place. I heard that, perhaps influenced by Jessica's advice, he ended up working part-time at another music store to make a living. As for me, I'm still with Sakura Instruments. I've become a full-time tuner at Sakura Instruments while occasionally holding concerts. Don't you actually want to pursue a career as a full-time pianist? Jessica asked, looking concerned. I replied, I also play to perform for you, so I don't intend to leave Sakura Instruments. Seeing Jessica blush at my words made me realize what I had just said. Oh, that's not what I meant. Of course, I want others to hear my music too, but it's mainly because you, Jessica, helped me overcome my trauma. And it makes me happy that you're there. No matter what I said, it sounded like a love confession, so I finally gave in and asked her out. She accepted easily, and within less than a year, we were married. Finally, you've opened your heart not just to the piano but to me as well. Seeing her smile so happily made me realize that the piano isn't just a means to compete, but something to bring joy to people. It took me a long time to realize the obvious, but from now on, I want to cherish both my feelings and the piano.